going to do somewhat of a deep dive in regards to the Alec Baldwin movie set shooting, which led to the death of the cinematographer. I've read through quite a number of articles over the last couple of days. I've got several lined up with a whole lot of information, and I'm not a professional YouTuber and I'm not doing any editing, so it is very, very likely that I will trip over some of the details. I will mention in the beginning that most of the articles are speculative in nature. It's an ongoing investigation. None of us were there, so we're just going on feedback as such. Some of the information mentioned here it may be incorrect. It is likely we're likely to get better facts, more accurate details as the case progresses. And likewise with any of my commentary, it's entirely speculative in nature. I am a layman. I have zero understanding of police investigations, firearms, or movie sets, or any of the people involved. So anything I say is merely guesswork. So as I mentioned, I've got quite a number of articles. This first one, this Daily Mail one, and I'll put a link in the description should I recall, is a very good one. It's quite comprehensive. It lays out a lot of the aspects, and then perhaps we'll have a look at two or three or four or five of the other articles, just to go in depth in certain angles. So if you do feel this is in any way half decent, please give me a like and a subscribe. And just bear in mind that there's a lot of info to go through. I'm going to read through most of this first article here, so it may be a little bit boring. Hopefully you stick around. There's some good info amongst this. The armourer and assistant director who handed off a fatal prop gun to Alec Baldwin have been identified after it was revealed that some crew members had walked off the set of the movie Rust over safety concerns before the tragic shooting that killed cinematographer Halnia Hutchins. Okay, so we know who the armourer and the assistant director are. So the armourer is this lady here, Hannah Gutierrez. I believe her full name is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. She is 24 years of age. She is the daughter of a very highly experienced armourer. I can't remember his name, but he was in the movie industry for decades, highly respected. He'd been on dozens, perhaps hundreds of movie sets. And as far as I understand, as armourer, the primary duty of the position of armourer is to contribute to the safety within the set in regards to the firearms, and primarily to ensure that the firearms are safe, namely to ensure that only blank bullets are used. So let's just carry on with that for a little bit. Here's a picture of what is believed to be the gun, if I can find it. Why can't I find it? But it's the movie is set in the 1880s, and it has been identified that the gun is a Colt gun, and I should be able to show you a picture of the Colt Dragoon, which they believe the gun is, but I can't seem to find that. But I will hopefully tell you about what blank bullets are. Okay, so this image here shows us what a blank bullet is, and you can go through that more thoroughly should you wish, but I'll just give you the quick understanding. A blank bullet is essentially the same as a live round, other than the tip of the bullet, which is the actual bullet, is removed. It is removed. So it's exactly the same as a live round, but a live round has the casing, it has the gunpowder, and when it is fired, the bullet, the top part, the tip, acts as a projectile and shoots off rapidly forward. So all a blank is the exact same live round minus the actual bullet, the tip. That's what it is. And so the armourer's responsibility is to ensure that the gun has blanks in it, that it does not have live ammo. And to me, that seems a very simple job to have, especially if you're experienced with firearms. I would imagine that it's not too difficult to identify if the ammo, if the round is live or not. Does it have the bullet, or has the bullet been removed? And when they remove the bullet, the tip, they often signify that by crimping the top of the blank ammo. So it should just be a visual check. A very simple job, if you ask me. This is a picture of what is believed to be the gun used, a vintage style Colt Dragoon revolver. So it's not a Glock or an Uzi. It's a revolver. I'm going to say a 6-shooter. I'm guessing on that part. But what was I talking about? So yeah, we are going through this, but we're just going to stop off and talk about Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armourer. So she's been somewhat exposed. People on the internet have looked into her, and they found her social media posts, and she's been somewhat slut-shamed for her posts, somewhat criticised for her posts, a lot of which seem to be sexual in nature, very provocative. I saw one of her posts where she said she's talking about having pay pigs, men that will give her money for in return for sexual favors, perhaps a nude picture or such. So she's got several provocative postings, and here's an example of one which is on TikTok. So let's quickly watch that. So this is the armourer's TikTok posting. Let's have a look. Okay, so it's, I mean, my opinion, for whatever it's worth, it's kind of immature. She's got a baby voice. She's acting in an immature, childish fashion. And then it becomes over-sexualized. The song says, fuck me, touch me, whatever it says. So, you know, a bit of immaturity, a bit of over-sexualization. So, you know, some people are criticizing her for that and saying or suggesting, hey, look, if you're the producer of a movie, why would you hire this person who's clearly immature, who's clearly not entirely responsible, who seems to be more interested in making provocative videos and social media posts than concentrating on her job, her highly important job. So that's what she's been criticized for. Is that a fair criticism? Well, I guess that's subjective. She is 24, so she is young. And this kind of social media posting is pretty common, isn't it? It's pretty common, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this kind of social media posting being common doesn't exempt her in any way, shape or form. Maybe she is immature. Maybe she wasn't focused entirely on her job. I guess we will find these things out. So it could be a harsh criticism. It could be harsh to criticize her social media posts, but I think it's entirely reasonable for the finger to be pointed at her at this stage, given that she was the armourer, which, as far as I understand, is the lead position when it comes down to being responsible for the safety of firearms on the movie set. Now, it has been mentioned in some of the articles that I've read through that that she was in a podcast recently. She was on a podcast, which I've not listened to. But on that podcast, she had suggested that she was apprehensive, nervous, anxious about her position as armourer on this movie, Rust, Alec Baldwin's movie. She was apprehensive because it was the only the second time that she was acting as armourer, and also she expressed some concerns about her inability to work with blank ammo. She said something along the lines, I can't remember exactly word for word what I read, but it was something along the lines of she didn't feel confident enough to identify what is blank ammo, which to me, as somebody who's never used a firearm at all, knows very, very little about bullets and ammo, to me that sounds kind of absurd. She's the daughter of a highly experienced armourer. She is an armourer. Identifying blank bullets, blank ammo, is one of the key, if not the key, aspect of the role, and she's not confident in that, seemingly. So there are question marks as to why the producers, and by the way, Alec Baldwin is at least one of the producers, if I understand correctly, and I believe he may be the lead producer or executive producer of the movie Rust. Alec Baldwin as producer would at the very least be in somewhat responsible for the hiring of this lady, 24-year-old Hannah Gutierrez. So, you know, there is a question mark there. Why are the producers hiring somebody with relatively low level of experience, who has expressed some concern about her own ability to perform the job well? Why hire that person? Why not hire someone with more experience? Anyway, so we've gone on a tangent there. We've been reading through this main article, and we've gone on and we've talked about Hannah Gutierrez. We're going to go on another tangent too, because to remind us that this article is telling us that the armourer, Hannah Gutierrez, has been identified, and also the assistant director has been identified. And the assistant director is called Dave Halls, this gentleman here. And the Daily Mail article tells us that Dave Halls, as the assistant director on the movie set Rust, what he did, he laid out three... Oh no, hang on. First, assistant director Dave Halls grabbed the gun from the cart. So the armourer, Hannah Gutierrez, laid out three prop guns on a cart outside the filming location. First, assistant director Dave Halls grabbed the gun from the cart and brought it inside to Baldwin, Alec Baldwin, unaware that it was loaded with live rounds. Dave Halls shouted, "Cold gun," whilst handing, or before handing, the gun to Baldwin. Cold gun, that phrase, cold gun, signifies to everyone in the immediate area, to the cast, the crew, and of course Alec Baldwin as the actor, as well as the cinematographer, as well as the director, that the gun does not have live ammo in it. Really, by shouting cold gun, Dave Halls is signifying that the gun has been checked and it is a safe to use gun. So, you know, Dave Halls, the question is, why were you handing the gun to Alec Baldwin whilst informing him that it was safe to use, when in fact it was not safe to use? Is it because you did not check the gun for live ammo yourself? If that's the case, if you did not check that, then is that okay? Is it your job? Is it your responsibility to check that? Or are you reliant on the armourer, Hannah Gutierrez, who is seemingly, according to this article here, Hannah Gutierrez laid three prop guns out. So, you know, we're not sure if Dave Halls is in any way responsible, could potentially be considered negligent in that fashion. We're not sure. But one thing to note is that Dave Halls was on the set, not necessarily involved in any way, but he was on the set and present when Brandon Lee was killed in an on-set firearms mishap in 1993. So we're aware that Brandon Lee was killed after being fired at by another actor with what should have been blank ammo. It turned out to be live ammo. Brandon Lee died on the set of The Crow Salvation. And this article, the Daily Mail article, is telling us, this article here, Gateway Pundit article, is telling us that Dave Halls was present on this set, the Crow Salvation set. Again, the article doesn't say that Dave Halls was in any way responsible, in any way had any access to the weaponry on the Crow Salvation set, but it's just something to bear in mind, I guess. Dave Halls was present, seemingly, on another movie set in which someone else died due to a firearm blank ammo mistake, seemingly. So there's something to bear in mind. But let's try to get back on track with this article here. So there's Dave Hall. So seconds later, Baldwin apparently aimed towards the camera and pulled the trigger, accidentally killing Hutchins as she filmed him and injuring director Joel Souza, who stood behind her. Okay, so hopefully you're still with me. But essentially, Alec Baldwin was passed the gun by Dave Halls. He pointed the gun at the cinematographer, who was presumably, I'm guessing that, I think this part is guesswork on my part, but I'm presuming that she was behind the camera, is my presumption. And I can't imagine why else she would be pointed at. So she was, the gun was fired, it hit the cinematographer, Hutchins, and then the bullet fragmented, I think that may be the right term, or essentially ricocheted. It passed through Hutchins, seemingly, and then the one bullet hit two people. It hit D'Souza in the shoulder, Joel Souza in the shoulder. But what some of these articles are saying is that on a movie set, that should not be occurring. You should not be pointing the gun at any human being at any stage. If you're looking to point the gun at a camera, then that camera must not be manned. You just point it at the camera, and that's that. And indeed, there may be other barriers there, because even with blank ammo, there can be errors. There can be fragments which are fired and act as projectiles and can cause harm. So, these articles are telling us that that should not have occurred. Alec Baldwin should not have pointed the gun at another human being. So potentially Alec Baldwin's in a little bit of trouble there. Okay, so we're going to move forward a little bit on the article. So it's the article, this Daily Mail article, is telling us that after the shooting, the armourer, Hannah Gutierrez, took possession of the gun and a spent casing and turned those details, the gun and the casing, to the police, along with other prop guns and ammunition used on the set. Alec Baldwin, changed out of his Western costume, which was stained with blood, and turned it over to police. Okay, so there's that. Now, another very important subject that this article goes through is in regards to the union issues, the issues with the unionized workers, general safety issues that were on the set. So the article tells us here unionized workers had walked off the set hours before the fatal shooting, after they complained about long hours, shoddy conditions, and another safety incident days earlier involving 2 misfires of a prop weapon. An unnamed prop master who oversaw the gun used in the fatal shooting was a non-union worker who was just brought in to replace the workers who left over safety concerns. Okay, so I know that's a little bit boring to listen to, but essentially there's been according to these articles, there's been all kinds of issues that have led the unionized workers to be very, very unhappy with safety issues on the set, as well as other issues. They weren't being provided with proper housing or a quality hotel to stay in. They were basically forced to stay in crappy motels, which were mostly used for housing the homeless. So the union workers resigned. They walked off the set. And seemingly Alec Baldwin and the producer's response to that was, fine, go fuck yourselves. We're going to hire some locals. So seemingly at least one of the locals may have been involved with the handling of this firearm. Yeah, so seemingly that's what may have happened. So that's a pretty good overview. There are new articles coming out, of course, and this one just came out just less than an hour ago. The headline tells us that the gun that was used was allegedly used for offset target practice. So if this is the case, if the gun was being used for target practice, it would likely have been using live ammo for target practice. So there is speculation that the gun was being used for for target practice with live ammo, and then when it was essentially being passed over to be used on the movie set, it was not adequately checked. This is speculation, of course, not adequately checked, presumably by all those involved, which would likely, I think, include Hannah Gutierrez, the armourer, as well as Dave Halls, the assistant director, as well as potentially another person, another handler of sorts, who may or may not have been a local worker, a non-unionized worker. So there are several people in this chain, but that's one speculation here, or one bit of information, if it's correct, that allegedly the same gun was used as target practice. I'm not going to go through this article in detail, but it does go into more details about the camera crew walking off the set in protest prior to the fatal shooting. So it seems to be a complete mess. It's a low budget movie. It's called a tier 1 budget, which means less than $6 million. And it has a few stars in it. Alec Baldwin's he's a major star, or at least he was a major star. And there's other stars in it. One of the actors from the TV show Supernatural. There's a couple of known names, so probably not A-list celebrities, but certainly B-list, C-list or such, as well as some of the staff members some of the crew members are highly experienced. Hallin Hutchins was very well respected, the cinematographer that died. So there were a lot of expertise. So $6 million, what's my point? $6 million isn't going to go very far, is it? If you're paying out all of these wages, these high salaries for your experienced staff, $6 million is going to run out pretty quickly. And seemingly some corners were allegedly cut in regards to providing adequate, safe, pleasant working environments and working conditions for at least some of the crew. So this article goes into more details about that, and the fact that there was somewhat of a strike, that a lot of the unionized workers left the set. It also mentioned that the victim concerned, Helena Hutchins, was one of those that was very vocal about the safety concerns on the set. So this tweet here also mentions the same subject. Rust camera crew walked out and were replaced by non-union crew the morning of the accident. Corners were being cut, and there's also been allegations of prior misfirings of a prop gun. So apparently there's been other issues with the prop guns prior to this incident. This tweet here from Jack Pasayabek says that allegedly the armourist for the Alec Baldwin movie had asked the prop master to check gun for blanks by shaking it around and listening for a rattling sound. So we don't know if that's true or not. If that is true, then that would suggest that the armourist is an amateur. I've never acted as an armourist, but seemingly you would need to do a visual check on the ammo to see if it's live or blank, and shaking the gun around is not going to be an adequate check. We don't know if that's true or not, but if it is true, then Hannah Gutierrez is going to be perhaps will be in a spot of bother. This article asks if Alec Baldwin will face charges. I'm not going to go through it because I'm a little bit tired at this point. But essentially, he may. I mean, more to the point, he's one of the producers on the show. So seemingly, if he was told that the gun was a cold gun and he fired it, then that would give him some, likely exemption from any negligence, any guilt, if other people were responsible for the checking of the gun. Having said that, he still fired the gun towards a human being, and seemingly that is not common practice. Seemingly, from the articles that I've read here, that should not occur on any movie set. If you're going to fire a gun at a camera, then the camera ought not be manned. In addition to that, as far as I understand, Alec Baldwin is the producer, or one of the producers, and I would imagine, guesswork, that that's going to make him more liable, or potentially liable, if he was in any way responsible for the hiring of the guilty party, be that Hannah Gutierrez, the armourer, or anybody else. So he's not in the clear. He's he's got to be scrutinized, I would imagine, both as being the actor concerned, the person who literally fired the gun towards a human being, as well as the producer. And as producer, I would presume that there would be legal liabilities in regards to the safekeeping of all crew concerned. So we'll find out what's going on with him, but he's going to be mired in some legal battles for quite some time, I would imagine. Now, he's expressed his condolences, his shock and his sadness, and he's spoken with the husband, and the husband has accepted Alec Baldwin's apologies or such, seemingly. I don't know, to me, my opinion, for whatever it's worth, and it's not really worth a lot, but from my opinion, from what I can see, as an actor, Alec Baldwin didn't do that much wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that. Maybe there's plenty wrong in firing a bullet, even if it is blank ammo. Firing blank ammo when towards a human. Maybe there's plenty of fault in that. I'm not entirely sure. But if he was told that it was safe to do so, then I feel sympathy for him in that regard. The area that I feel that he's most likely culpable from my unknowledgeable position would be, again, that of the position as producer. I would imagine that he would be very much responsible for making sure the area is safe. Look, there's my video. It's gone on for 30 minutes. Hopefully it's not been entirely boring. Hopefully a couple of people have watched. But there we go.